Hello, I'm doing a movie review, and the movie I want to review is the 1985 Italian horror film, Demons. Now, Demons was co-written and produced by Dario Argento, who directed films like Suspiria, Deep Red, The Bird with the Crystal Plumage, Cat O' Nine Tails, Tenebrae, Phenomena, and Four Flies on Grey Velvet, among many other films. The movie was also co-written and directed by Lamberto Bava, who is the son of Mario Bava. However, I did hear some rumors that apparently Dario Argento did ghost direct some of this movie. Now, some of you might remember that I actually already reviewed this movie for Horror Month of 2012, but I decided to redo that review. Really for no other reason besides I just think my reviews have gotten better since 2012, so I decided to redo it. I mean, I guess that's debatable, but I think my reviews have gotten better. Now, Demons, in a lot of ways, was sort of my introduction to Italian horror. Now, I've seen other Italian horror films before this, like, I've seen Deep Red and Lucio Fulci's Zombie before this movie, but this was one of the first Italian horror films that I watched where I really started to notice the differences between American horror films and Italian horror films. Even though maybe this isn't the best example of Italian horror films, because it is a very cheesy movie, and there are plenty of other Italian horror films that are much more serious than this, but I consider this to be, this is at least one of my personal favorite Italian films. Now, I first saw this movie when I was 15. I actually got this DVD from Suncoast Video, and it's a film I've heard about before, and it's one I've always wanted to check out, so I bought it, and I did like it when I first saw it, but it's a movie that's definitely grown on me over the years, and now it's one of my favorites. But once again, I love Demons. This is just such a fun movie, and it is a very cheesy movie, but I love it because of how cheesy it is, and the movie also doesn't make any apparent sense. Now, I've made sense of the plot because I've made my own interpretation of what's actually going on, but the movie doesn't explain what's actually going on, nor does it need to, and I love that about the film. I love that you really don't know why this is happening. It's just happening, and I freaking love that. I also love how this movie sort of crosses over into several different genres and subgenres, because it is a horror film, but it also becomes an action movie by the end of it. It's sort of this postmodern metafiction piece, and it's also kind of a brilliant hybrid between the demonic possession genre and the zombie genre. And the movie really does feel like almost a hybrid between Assault on Precinct 13, Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, Lucio Fulci's Zombie, The Evil Dead, and a little bit of, even though this movie came out years later, there's a little bit of The Ring in this movie, believe it or not, even though that movie came out years after this, so maybe this movie was sort of an inspiration for the book Ringu, which inspired the Japanese film and then the American remake, because this movie does have some similar ideas to The Ring, this idea of supernatural forces sort of using technology as a way to bleed through into the real world. You could even draw some comparisons between this and Wes Craven's New Nightmare, even though that movie also came out years after this film. Now, the plot of Demons is it begins where this girl named Cheryl gets these tickets for some unnamed horror movie from this man in a mask. Now, she assumes that he's dressed like this for the promotion of the film, but her and her friend go to see this movie at this mysterious theater, and when they get there, a bunch of other people show up as well. Now, this movie that's playing at the theater is about demons taking over the earth, and in the movie movie within the movie, it begins where this guy scratches himself on this ancient demon mask, and he's the first person in the movie within the movie to become possessed by demons. Now, before the movie started playing, there were these women messing around in the lobby, and one of these women put on the same demon mask, and she scratched herself, and basically, as the movie starts playing, this woman who scratched herself with the demon mask becomes possessed by a demon, and then she scratches her friend, and her friend becomes possessed by a demon as well. And the whole idea is, anybody who is bitten or scratched by a person possessed by demons will become possessed by demons as well. So the movie basically treats demonic possession like a virus. And the people become trapped in the theater because once they try to escape, they discover that all the doors and windows to the theater have mysteriously disappeared. Like, it appears that the theater has some kind of supernatural curse on it, and somehow they've become, like, trapped in the building, and it never really explains, like, how these doors and windows just disappeared. Like, was it magic? Like, are there people working behind the scenes who cemented them shut? Like, it doesn't actually say what's going on, and once again, it doesn't really need to. So the basic plot of the film is it follows Cheryl and her friend and two guys that they meet and a bunch of other people trying to survive in this theater while demonic zombies are trying to get them. You're not sure if this movie that they're watching in the theater, like, you're not sure, is this something that actually happened in the universe of the film, and because there are supernatural forces at work here, they're somehow seeing what actually happened being projected as a movie, or are the events of the film within the film sort of something that happened in an alternate universe, and maybe the demons are now trying to come through onto a parallel version of Earth? Or is the movie within a movie just a movie, but somehow the movie has come to life? Or are demons using the film as sort of a gateway between hell and earth? Like, it doesn't really explain it. And in the movie, Michael Savana, I'm not sure if I'm saying his last name right, but he's actually a filmmaker himself. He plays the man in the mask, and you're not sure who this man in the mask actually is, but it appears he's some kind of grand puppet master behind all the events in this movie. Like, it seems like he's actually the one controlling everything that's happening in this theater, but you're not sure who or what he is. Like, is he some kind of warlock or a wizard, and maybe he put some kind of spell on the theater? Is he the devil? Is he just some demon? Now, Michael Savana, or Savani, once again, I have no idea how to say his last name, but he also plays the first person to get possessed by demons in the movie within the movie. So, is the man in the mask actually the character from the movie come to life? And then you have this woman working at the theater, and you're like, okay, how did she get the job there? Who are her bosses? Does she know more than she's letting on? Because she also seems to be just as scared as everybody else in the theater, and even does suffer the same fate as a lot of the people in the theater. So, the movie definitely leaves more questions than answers, but a way you could justify that is the fact that this movie's pretty much all told from the point of view of the people in the theater, and these people would have no way of actually finding out how this is happening, so I think that's a way you could really justify the fact that this film doesn't explain anything. Now, the score for this film was done by Claudio Simonetti of Goblin. I hope I'm saying his last name right, and the soundtrack includes a lot of heavy metal music and pop-punk music, and with the exception of a few scenes, I would say that most of the music fits the film. Where the music doesn't fit the movie is there are certain points where it randomly cuts to these punks in this car that you find out later on was stolen, and they're listening to, like, Billy Idol. Now, I love Billy Idol, but these guys would not be listening to Billy Idol. They would be listening to something like Bad Brains Rhodes or Black Flag or something. But I gotta say, those punks were freaking hilarious. Like, they're snorting cocaine out of a Coke can. And there's a certain point where they accidentally drop the can of Coke, and the leader of these punks just has this hilarious moment where he's like, "Fuck you! Pick it up!" But my favorite character was definitely Tony the Pimp. In my opinion, he freaking stole this movie, and was such a badass, but was also hilarious as well. There's also this awesome scene at the end where one of the characters, named George, gets on a motorcycle and starts riding around the theater on the motorcycle with a samurai sword, and he starts chopping up the demonic zombies with the sword, and it's such an awesome moment, and I love how the character of George basically becomes this Rambo-style action hero. They even reference Rambo at one point, and I have a feeling that might have been done on purpose because this is such a metafiction film. I kind of get the idea that because this is a movie about films overlapping reality, like it almost makes sense that this guy would just randomly become a Rambo-style action hero. Or maybe I'm reaching way deeper than was actually intended. And the movie also has some great effects, like there's one moment in the movie where this character gets possessed by demons, and then you see this horned demon crawl out of her back, and it's actually a really good effect. So, if you couldn't tell already, I really like this film. It's a movie where I can understand why some people wouldn't like this. Like, in a lot of ways, this movie and films like it are kind of an acquired taste. But as far as Italian horror films go, I can't say this is one of the best Italian horror films, but this is definitely one of my personal favorites. Now, this movie spawned 2 official sequels and a bunch of unofficial sequels. The year after this, you had Demons 2, The Nightmare Returns, and there was a Demons 3, however, there's a lot of debate over what is the actual Demons 3. Now, in my opinion, the 1989 film The Church, that is the official Demons 3 because it was originally made to be the 3rd film in the Demons series, even though the director wanted to make it a standalone film. Even though that movie is so tonally different from the first 2 movies, I count that as the official 3rd Demons film. However, there are a bunch of other films that also claim to be Demons 3. Lamberto Bava did a film called The Ogre, which was later retitled Demons 3, even though Lamberto Bava himself has said that that is not connected to the Demons series, and there was also a film called Black Demons, which has also been known under the title Demons 3, even though the director of that movie also says that that film has nothing to do with the Demons series. So once again, in my personal opinion, The Church is the official Demons 3. There was also a movie called The Sect, which is also known under the title The Devil's Daughter, and that goes under the alternate title Demons 4, even though that really has no connection with the Demons series. There was a movie claiming to be Demons 5, there was a movie claiming to be Demons 6, even Della Morte Delamore, which is called The Cemetery Man here in the States, that was even purported to be a sequel to Demons, so this movie has a lot of unofficial sequels. Now, a few years ago, there was actually a short film featuring Tony the Pimp, but it wasn't an actual sequel, like, it was obviously not in continuity with this film. It just happened to feature the same character, and Bobby Rhodes actually did come back to play that character. So yeah, that was my review on Demons, and my next movie review will be on Demons 2.